It's always for me difficult to come up with the opening line. And I've told this story many times, on many stages actually. I always say something like, when I had just turned 14, my home was destroyed by a mudslide, which killed my mother and left my father with permanent injuries and brain damage. As you can imagine, losing pretty much my whole world overnight is extremely traumatizing. And the shock and the grief has taken a long time to process, to even feel. And going through something like that as a teenager, as a child, somebody who's still in development, leaves you with lasting effects. But on top of that, since then, both dealing with my father's brain damage, but also all of the changes, and ending up in numerous situations where I was treated with disdain, contempt, anger, or I wasn't allowed to have freedom of movement, or I wasn't allowed to show emotions of any kind, resulted in complex trauma as well. So now, years later, as I finally, through a series of events that resulted in my body finally just shutting down and not being able to take anymore, realized that I had no choice but to heal, to stop, to get away, to put everything to the side and deal with all of it. There's never a timeline that works for healing. It takes its time. It's a process that has to happen at the pace of nature, the pace of yourself. But I've established a routine that involves doing physical things because the trauma, the emotions are stored in the body, not the mind. And you cannot let these things out. Your body will not let you let these things out unless you actually feel safe to do it. Coming here to Scotland, to the Isle of Bute, moving halfway across the world, was the first step to establish that sense of safety. It is having safe relationships with other humans as well. And I'm very grateful to have a relationship where I feel completely safe, grounded, connected to another nervous system. But it extends to everything in the natural world that is alive, that is part of our community that we are mostly disconnected from. The rituals are there to keep you as mindful as you possibly can be when your head gets flooded with all these things coming out of your body. But when I sit down, I actually address the physical pain that I experience. So I know what it is next that I have to deal with that is basically, I suppose, ripe, that comes up and says, yeah, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm willing, you're ready now to deal with this. And so I find the place in my body that hurts, and I hold it and I ask it. And you must show up to these things with self-compassion. Because otherwise, you may be physically safe, but you won't feel emotionally safe, psychologically safe to actually feel, to think, to experience, to let go. I'm amazed looking back at how my gender dysphoria and my gender identity ended up shining through so much other stuff that was clearly repressed and connected to it as well. And some days I just flat out don't have the energy. So I will do my stretches and I will do my meditation, but I won't try to find a thing. But conversely, some days I have no choice. Some days my headache is so bad, it doesn't matter. I have to go find out why. And an hour of wailing it out later, sometimes literally writhing on the floor, I feel a lot better. When I got here, it was beautiful. Everything's green. There's birds everywhere. You can hear the bumblebees. They're flying around. They're giant and fuzzy, and it's just amazing. And I would lie in the grass and feel the earth. And I was so far gone at that point. I was so shut down. I was so frozen. I was bouncing between being completely frozen, not being able to move, function, nothing, and being in a state of hyper-arousal and anxious and having panic attacks and such similar things. But that sense of just beauty, of wonder, of all of the things I think that society tries to get us to forget exist right there, that are so amazing, that remind us how to be human, that all the things that we think we need and we want don't matter as much as the things we really need. But that sense of wonder also heals on its own, because as you face all these difficult things, you make room for all the beautiful ones. Your capacity expands on both sides at once. And sometimes you feel like maybe it takes you out of yourself, but really I think what it does, it takes you into yourself. You become present, but you become present and connected, where yourself matters less, but you are somehow there more than you were before. And you can feel it calling to you. The process of accepting life, accepting yourself, accepting the hard truths, facing the difficult things, finding those things to face in the first place, changing your core beliefs about yourself. It's a lot of work. The more we face about ourselves, about life and about death, and getting back into that rhythm and the comfort of the natural world can allow us to be more and more free and authentic to ourselves and live life, not just being more present and more authentic, but live it more fully. Because now I finally get to live, basically. I don't feel like I've actually lived. Done a lot, but I don't feel like I've actually been alive for it. And now I can be, and now I want to be, finally,